Welcome to Childcare Rockstar Radio. I am your host, Kris Murray. Childcare leaders around the globe are breaking through challenges, leading the way in innovation, testing new best practices, and impacting children and families in a much more powerful and positive way than ever before. Each week, join me for interviews with early childhood leaders and experts that will leave you inspired to become the next childcare rockstar. Now, let's go. This is Childcare Rockstar Radio, episode 111, featuring Vernon Mason.
This episode of Childcare Rockstar Radio is sponsored in part by IntelliKid Systems. IntelliKid Systems is a leading CRM software exclusively for preschools and childcare centers, and they've had a very busy summer. Not only are they launching a version 3 of their innovative lead management system that's helping centers nationwide with their enrollment, but they're also debuting a solution to help keep schools fully staffed. With industry-leading communication tools, you can make sure nothing falls through the cracks with IntelliKid Systems. Check out the live stream of their launch event on October 1st at 10 a.m. Pacific on their Facebook page. And you can find them at facebook.com/IntelliKid Systems or reach them for a demo and learn more at IntelliKidSystems.com.
Thanks for tuning back into the podcast, everybody. This is Kris Murray, your host at Childcare Rockstar Radio, and I'm thrilled to have you. Today's episode is pretty jam-packed with writer-downers. It's Vernon Mason, my good friend. I've known him for over a decade, and he is the only person to have graced this podcast as a guest for 3 times. So the last time we spoke on the podcast, we had a happy hour. And today we dig into a bunch of really cool topics. This podcast is airing about 6 days, to be exact, before we show up in Las Vegas together at the 10th Annual Childcare Success Summit Conference, the world's largest business conference for early learning. And I am so excited to see all of you there. I'm hoping you'll be there with us. And we did recently announce a new COVID protocol for the show. So if you are coming in any capacity as a sponsor or exhibit worker, or of course, attendee or speaker, you must show either a COVID card, your vaccination card, or your test, your negative test, 72 hours or shorter, to gain access to the ballroom and to the event. So prior to actually getting your lanyard and your badge, you will be getting a COVID bracelet showing that you are either fully vaccinated with your card or with your negative test. And it's okay if you have a photo versus the actual card. So it's okay if you have it on your phone. So I wanted just to say that because we're trying to get the word out in as many media and as many forms as we can so that nobody shows up going, I didn't know. So just know that. And if you're hearing this for the first time and you don't have a ticket, but you want to come, yes, there's still a chance that you could come. We do have a wait list going at this point, but for any cancellations for folks that cannot attend last minute, we do have a wait list going, and you can join that wait list by reaching out to our support friends here on my team at support@childcaresuccess.com, support@childcaresuccess.com, and we will get you on the list ASAP and or get you tickets right away that you can come to the show. All right. This episode 111, is very special. My friend Vernon Mason, once again, brings it all. He reveals to us a bunch of really, really cool topics and dives in to about 17 amazing staffing ideas, about 2/3 of the way into the podcast. So you're definitely going to want to jump in and stay tuned for that. We talk about his new venture with his friends, Jerry and Jane, my old friends as well, and Thad and Rochelle and the whole gang at The Nest. And so he's at thenestSchool.com doing incredible work with the new brand called The Nest, and they have 29 schools across 4 different states currently, and they just started at the beginning of 2021, if you can believe that. So 29 schools in 9 months is quite something. So you can learn more about that. And we talk about his small owners conference that he does, kind of a boutique event in Key West. He'll be doing that again in March of 2022. So that's super cool. We talk about that. But the big topics are, number one, we're talking about advocacy today. We're talking about getting involved with your state or even at a national level in the world of early learning leadership to advocate as an owner or a director of the schools. But really, this is more a message for owners, is you got to get involved to make a difference in where we are headed with how the early learning industry is going to be funded and how we're going to flow as a result of the government influences and the Biden plan and all of the things that are happening in our world right now, trying to impact the future of childcare. So in order to be a voice and really get involved to represent the world of private preschool ownership, we talk all about that. And then secondarily, we talk about the staffing crisis. And we tell it like it is, guys, really diving into what you really must do, how you must change the way that you are hiring, attracting, marketing, branding, building relationships in your community, and leading your schools so that you can have a fully staffed school, and all the things and different tactics and cool strategies that you can do, ways that you can change your pay structure and your bonusing structure and your benefits and the way that you're marketing all that stuff so that you can improve your hiring effectiveness. So, like I said, so much good stuff shared from Vernon and myself on that topic. Personally, I am just busy getting ready for the summit, and my team and I are running around putting all of the dots on the I's and crosses on the T's, as it were, and getting my outfits chosen, and excited to show up for you fully 110% on stage to lead the show as the host of the Child Care Success Summit. And just very, very excited. This is my favorite time of year because I get to come and be with you all in person and make a difference, make an impact on you and for you, and connect with people and continue to build relationships with people. So I cannot wait. We're going to do a really fun team building event for my own team, the Child Care Success Company team, on that Sunday after the show's over. So we are going to go have some fun on our team, and I'm very excited about that as well. And a great venue at the Paris, Las Vegas, with the Eiffel Tower and all the things on the Strip. So I'm just excited to be in Vegas again and experience a fun few days. Might even get a lesson from Coach Tamina at the blackjack table. Who knows? So come join us. Can't wait to see you there. And let's dive on into this episode right now, episode 111, featuring Mr. Vernon Mason. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. This is Kris, your host, and I'm thrilled to welcome in today for the third time, 3 times is a charm, Mr. Vernon Mason. Vernon, how are you?
Is that some kind of record?
Yes, it is a record. You are the only human that has been on Child Care Rockstar Radio 3 times.
And I wore a Rockstar shirt, ready
You sure
for Vegas, ready to show out. Absolutely. Let's roll.
I love it. Where are you? Are you at home in North Carolina? Where are you at?
I'm at home in my office. Yeah.
All right. Very good. I love your shirt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Looking good. Looking good. We're going to see each other in 3 weeks in Las Vegas. And when this episode releases, we will literally be like on a handful of days out from being together in Las Vegas. Can't wait to see you in the sponsor hall and in the ballroom. So that's going to be a blast.
Absolutely.
So one thing I do have to mention before we get into our conversation, Vernon, is that we are on a 10-year anniversary. This is going to be the 10th summit. And I actually went back into the vault. Oh, yes, I did. And I went back to the 2012 summit footage. I watched some of the footage, and I looked at all the photography, and I got some pictures of you and some footage of you. And I am going to show a little bit of that because I want to kind of celebrate where we've been. So from stage, when we're together in a handful of days, we're going to be showing where we were in 2012 in the lovely Red Lion in Stapleton in Denver with Stedman Graham. And we're going to be with Stedman Graham again this coming event. So, and we are a little bit older, a hell of a lot smarter, maybe a little bit richer. I don't know, but we're all good. We're good.
Well, I can tell you right now, the bags under my eyes have definitely gotten bigger, if nothing else.
Yeah, me too.
I'm looking at that one.
Yeah, these wrinkles, and I don't care.
I need to get a filter.
I worked hard for these wrinkles.
Well, yeah, me too.
All right. So you are traveling around. You're speaking to centers. You're also a principal in the new childcare experience called The Nest. We're going to talk about that today. But in your speaking gigs and traveling around and spending time in early learning centers around the country, first, I want to ask you, what are some of the things that you're seeing and hearing?
Well, many things. You know, the call for universal preschool has been either onset of fear from owners or denial from owners. You know, just depending on where they are. If it's not affecting them, people think it's not going to affect them, and it's something that's coming down the road. And of course, you cannot, and we'll get into this later. You cannot talk about childcare world today without talking about the staffing crisis that we're currently under. That is trumping everything. I believe at this point. It is when you began, it began under the umbrella of enrollment, right?
Yep.
And you've grown from that and changed as our needs have changed in the industry. But right now, this need of staffing is just, most programs are on wait lists due to lack of staff.
Yeah. And lack of centers, because as I'm going to be talking about from stage, a full 35% of center owners nationwide have either thought about closing their doors or selling in the last 6 months. And that is because they can't find any team members. Primarily Well, it's like what pushed them over the edge. Yes. Yeah.
People who want to look, you can look on the outside and look in and go, wow, that's a great life they have there running childcare programs. Look at the nice big, whatever car they're driving and the nice house. And look, they post on Facebook, they're going to their lake house this weekend, and they're traveling and going to Vegas and stuff. I will tell you, there's not an industry that I know that works any harder than the childcare industry. Mm-hmm. There's very few industries that have the liability that we have in this industry. And so this staffing crisis is just really just pushed many of the owners over the edge.
Over the edge, because when you've got potentially a low margin business, the liability, the regulations, the staff turnover that we had pre-COVID.
Absolutely.
Then when you bring COVID on top, and then the staffing crisis on top of that, and you just layer on all of that, it's like, that's just enough to push people over the edge.
Well, so and owners have to make changes. They have to adjust because I believe living under that amount of stress for an extended length of time there's a physical cost to that at some point. And so we have to learn, we have to find ways to deal with it.
Yes, I completely agree. So we are going to be bringing ideas and solutions and a focus to mindset and putting yourself first in your business when we're together at the summit, because I think we're in this industry so used to putting everybody else first, and then our own health, our own sanity, our own mental well-being suffer. And then I don't blame people for wanting to walk away and throw in the towel. So we got to change it. We have to make actual physical and intentional mental changes and operational changes to survive this thing and get past it. I want to talk to you about the other piece of the puzzle that's interesting that layers on top of this is the funding, and a lot of people are sitting on a lot of cash because whether you're subsidy or private, many of my clients are getting inundated with different grants and state funding and federal funding and subsidy funding and all these different layers, not to mention the PPPs and the other funding that has come through COVID. And so one of the changes is we have to take some of that funding and reinvest it in the business, of course, in the salary and wage side, which a lot of people are doing.
Absolutely.
But it's an interesting conundrum, and especially as we go towards the universal preschool question. And I'll just mention that on a recent ad that I saw here in Colorado, it said that President Biden wants parents to pay no more than 7% of their income towards childcare.
Right.
And so with that plan and with that push to really focus on universal preschool and well-funded childcare by the federal government, what are your thoughts around that?
Well, I'm gonna give you thoughts out of two buckets. My first thought is my quick thought, and that is, I'm a free market person, so I believe we can do this on our own. We can do this with parent. We don't need the government because it's that frightening phrase that's gone around for decades. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. That's my first thing is I've seen bureaucracy at its worst.
Yeah.
And so I'm not that. So in my world, I would say, thanks. We'll take care of it from here. But the other world, the other side, the other bucket, the realistic side is that taking assistance from the government is fine. If they don't want the parents to pay more than 7% and they're going to subsidize the rest, we'll take more money. Absolutely. We can use it. We can invest it. We can pay our teachers more, etc. But it does go back to, and this plan actually could be a win for us. It could be a windfall of money for us. It could be, I've said for years, that we can provide universal pre-K in our schools. I believe that we can. You just give us the money, right? You just give us the funding,
Yeah.
put it in the subsidy pot or whatever, we could figure out a way to distribute it. It is totally possible, and we can do this. And I'm going to go on a little bit of a rampage. And the thought process of giving it to the public schools infuriates me, because we have many schools that are marginal at best. They struggle to adequately care for and educate the 13 grades they currently have. The audacity, you see, I'm starting to get passionate about this, right? The audacity that they think how to fix this, and I could start throwing out some F words here, but I was not real careful, is to give them another grade? What, really?
Right.
No, that is, and it goes back to our conversation a little bit about advocacy. We have to get involved. Owners have to get involved. We have to join agencies like NCCA, our state association. And I'm going to say this, and please don't send me hate mail. When I talk about getting involved in advocacy, I'm not talking about the NAEYC. The NAEYC is a child advocacy organization. They want children in care. They really don't care whether it's a for-profit or a nonprofit or private child care program or the public school. To them, it's a win if they get, if universal pre-K or universal preschool was to go, 55%, 65% in the public school. They're like, oh, we won, that's great. Where those of us over here who have large amounts of money invested in overhead and sites and real estate, et cetera, we're, drowning because we can't, have enough kids to get in. So I would say be really, really careful. Just because their child advocacy organization does not mean they have your best interest. And when I say your best interest, I'm talking to the people who would come to watch a Kris Murray podcast. If you're an owner of child care programs, be really careful supporting agencies like that, because they are not, they're standing up for kids, and that's admirable and that's great, but they're not standing up for child care providers.
Yeah, completely agree. And we in the Child Care Success Academy have all the business tools and coaching and support and community and all that, but we're not an advocacy organization. So, I'm a huge fan of Cindy and the folks over at NCCA, and I would love to continue to partner with them, and I have promoted them. And I know that she is an advocate at the national level to try to be the voice of private childcare owners and business concerns.
There's no reason we don't have a much better funded national organization and lobbyist. It's a shame.
It is a shame
with that the Restaurant Association has better representation in government than the child care.
That's right.
And it really is because, I don't know, child care people, God, I love them. They're heart-centered people. Most of them, when they start out in this business, they get into it because they enjoy the hugs and everything else. And they just don't want to believe that there are people who are working against them. And they don't want to believe that they need to give to an advocacy group, but they do. They need to give because it's about self-preservation. And I say this truly. I believe we totally provide and can provide better care than the public schools.
The other thing is the states. We have to also be very, very involved with our states. And there's some states that are extremely active. Shout out to Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, Texas. And so our friend Jerry started his own because in Connecticut, they didn't really have a strong child care association. So he basically took it up on himself to become an organizer of the Connecticut Child Care Association. So if you guys are listening to this and you don't have a strong state association or it's lost its focus, you have to be the one to dive in and start really advocating, create a meeting, create an organization, start.
And and I'm going to take away the excuse that you don't have time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No one has time. No one's got, but someone's got to make time.
Yes.
And so if you don't have a state association, then you do what Jerry did. You start your own, and it starts right now by you calling the local people that you know of, and you get together, and you invite, and you set up another meeting, and you ask them to invite people they know, and it just grows and grows and grows. And you don't have to. It doesn't have to be huge to be effective. It has to start somewhere with somebody.
Absolutely.
And if there is a state association, then please join. They are begging people to join and begging people to pay their dues so they can keep their lights on also.
Love that. So let's talk about The Nest. You are a partner in the new early learning startup called The Nest. Tell us more about it and why are you excited about it?
I just started smiling when you said The Nest. My identity was wrapped up in We School. And when I sold it, I was a little like, well, what do I do now? Who am I? So anyway, so when and Jane and Jerry, it was totally coincidental, and we've been accused of other, but anyway, it was totally coincidental that I sold in July. They sold like in September. The day I released my video, I got a text from Jerry and said, "We're right behind you." And like, oh, cool, good for you, whatever. And so through COVID, they contacted me, said, we thought we were ready to retire, and we don't think we are. We think we're ready to dive back in big time. And I said, go to hell. And kind of hung up on them. And then, are you crazy? Go count your money. But anyway, and after a couple conversations and really buying into, I feel as I do have a connection with their belief structure. And so, when I decided, because I'm a 110% person, so I decided, to join them and jump in 110%. And, it's really just an amazing experience because we want to take to the Main Street America this vision of what we have as quality childcare. And I know that's a word and a phrase that has been used over and over and over again, but we really want to take beautiful facilities, wonderful experiences for the children and wonderful experiences for the staff, because I will say success in We School, I believe, came from me and the handling of my team and developing a team and a team atmosphere and me being engaged. As there was ugly sweater contest. I had the ugliest sweater on, right? And Jane and Jerry led the way with the core values and having a director of core values. They led the way, one of the first companies to have that. And so we have this deep ingrained belief that our people are what will make us, right? And that if we do what's right, it will come. And what interesting at this point, but and no startup does this, but at this point, we never have set out to say, what kind of profit can we make? Right? We're for profit, right? And we'll make a profit, but right now that's not the biggest thing. It's like, what can we do that's going to work, that's going to be what people love and what kids need.
Right.
So yeah, I'm loving what I'm doing. One of the things I did come on board when I came on board, one of the first things I said is, I'm happy to come on board, but what I'm not doing is running the schools. I'm not doing operations. And if that's what you'd like me to do, that is fine. I will take my marbles and go hunt, right? And they agreed. And so I don't do operations. So I do all the fun stuff behind the scenes.
So you're the ambassador of fun.
No, but I always bring fun. I'm always packing fun work.
Yeah.
And always packing on. So really, what my goal is now is we started 2021, and when you hear these numbers, we started 2021 with no schools, and I believe currently we're operating 28 or 29.
What? I was just about to ask you how many schools you had. 28 or 29.
And we have 4 more that are under contract that will close. And so we don't really know. Our initial goal was 50 for the first year.
Okay.
And what slowed us up from that is staffing. Staffing has slowed us up, right?
Yep.
We get staff to keep up with the need. But the other thing is we have been able to recruit some amazing people between Jerry and Jane's contacts and my contacts. And that's the other thing. One of the best things, and Jerry and Jane will tell you this, one of the best things that they or I ever did was join in your academy. Because the connections with you and the connections with your people and the people that you recruit, those connections, it's like a $1 million Rolodex. I mean, of all these people out there that have so much knowledge, and you become friends, you become acquaintances, you watch them on Facebook, you realize, oh, they just sold their school. Well, I wonder what they're doing now. I mean, so there's just so many ways, and we have collected some amazing people. Rochelle Connor, of course, is with us, and just
Thad.
Yeah, Thad's hanging in there, always throwing the fly in the ointment, to make us think something different. I will say it's green, he'll say it's red, and here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go. Yeah. I respect his opinion. I think he's a very, very smart man. Now,
very smart.
We disagree on stuff, but it makes it fun.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. And I appreciate you said that about the academy. We continue to attract that, and I'm excited. There's so many new people that are coming to the summit that I get to meet for the first time who have between 1 and 10 schools, and really rising tides lifts all boats, Vernon, and you know that. So I just love helping be the wave. You are
amazing. I'm so envious of your way of your connections. How you're amazing the way you connect with everyone, and you remember, do you remember everybody's name?
I remember a lot. I haven't
know my name. What the
It's
heck?
hard. No, it's hard. But I do have an uncanny ability to remember things about people's businesses and personal, but really it's like, oh yeah, I remember 8 years ago, she was struggling with this, and now she's got, so yeah, I have that. I don't know. That's some kind of weird.
That is a unique brilliance. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't wait to see you and Jerry and Jane and all the friends and continue that work. And I love the fact that you're at 29 schools. Mm-hmm. So way to go. That is a huge number for.
We have some goals. Let me tell you. It's not something that we published, but we've got some goals.
You got some big goals.
When we discussed those goals, I had to take a seat. I was like, oh, I need to sit down.
You're like, let me sit down for a second.
This is a long ways from my 5 schools,
Yeah.
But I've learned a lot. I've learned what the thing, and I've always taught that, Kris. I've never been one who goes out and does professional development and teaches and says, do it my way because it's right. You know what I mean? I've always said many times, learn from my mistakes. Let's don't repeat that,
So are you focusing on specific states with the Nest, or
we are, this is my stock answer to that. We are open to just about anywhere that we would want enough to make a good area. We want to pay our people well, and we want to pay a great regional director. So in other words, if someone called us from Oregon and they had a one-off program in Oregon, we probably wouldn't be interested in. But if she's got a one-off and she's got a friend that's got three, then we absolutely talk to them. Right now, we're Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, and Texas.
Cool. All great states. Love it. Very, very cool. So if people want to learn more about that, they go to, what's the website for the Nest?
We'll go to thenestschool.com, and you can go to acquisitions, or you can just email me, vernon@thenestschool.com. And it's singular, thenestschool.
School. No S. Okay, good.
Somebody's hanging on to the school's website and they won't sell it to us. But anyway, that's another story.
I've had to bully some people into selling me their damn website.
We've tried, and I'm willing to take my boots off and get down in the buck if I need to. And Jerry's he can do that too if he needs to. But short of putting a hit on somebody, we haven't done that.
I had to buy chrismurray.com from somebody who was holding it. I don't know what I spent. I think I spent like $800. I still haven't done anything with that dang domain. It's sitting there on GoDaddy.
At least you have it.
I have it.
Absolutely.
Whenever I'm ready, I'm going to dive in. Hey, you said something about team that I want to bring out really quickly with regard to if we're doing an ugly sweater contest, I'm going to be the one with the ugliest sweater. So what I'm seeing that's distressing me is that even inside of our academy, I know owners who, when we're talking about working on your business and not in it, they are mistaking I better go off and stay at the Ritz for the week and not be in my business at all. And I'm going to completely disconnect from my new director. I'm going to hire somebody brand new. I'm going to give them the manual. Here's the binder. Bye. And I'm going to go get in my sports car and I'm going to go out the parking lot. And so it's bothering me, Vernon, because it's like, no, y'all are owners. You still have to be connected and lead your programs. You still have to be the one to show up with the ugly sweater, to be involved with your team, to love on your team, to show the director the ropes. You can't just hand them the binder and get the hell out of town. So speak to that a little bit, because that's just really bothering me. I'm seeing that still.
There's some boss babies out there, and I get it. You know what I mean? And that's wonderful. I want you to step it up and really show out, right? That's awesome. But even Steve Jobs, all these people who were in charge of these companies, they show up.
Yes.
You have to show up. You have to be there. The thought of having we're in COVID time, so we're going to ignore that for now. But the thought of having a Christmas or a holiday staff party and me not being there, that would never happen.
Right.
I'm absolutely going to be there. Now, I only had 5 schools, so yes, I could show up on a weekly basis. And when I say weekly basis, there were weeks that I would hit all 5 in one day. That didn't, because if you go there, you get sucked in and blah, blah, blah. There's a fine line of being connected. But you have to show up. In my opinion, you have to show up. You have to be visible, unless you want to be seen as an invisible investor, right? If you want to be seen as someone who's not there, then someone in your company is going to step up. I would say, depending on how large you are, that kind of scenario is going to slow your buy-in down.
Yeah.
When you're bought in, they buy in. And when you grow to 29 schools, we flew all our directors to Chicago. And when you transition, you buy a school and you change everything and say we're not going to change anything right now, and then everything changes. It is what it is. One of the things that hit them the most when I spoke was this. I said, have you bought in? Has your staff bought in? And by you buying in, how many of you are friends with your staff on Facebook? And I said, you don't have to raise your hands, and I said, how many of you have changed your employer to the Nest schools? Because if you haven't, they're watching you. Mm-hmm. Your community's watching you. Your people that you're employed are watching you. They are totally following in your path. The exact same thing can be said for the owners. Your community is watching you. They're seeing what you're doing. They absolutely, people totally want you to be successful, right? But they also want you to know that you know what's going on in your company. So there's layers that you put in there. The larger you grow, the more layers you have to have. And the more people you have to assign different things to. But totally, you cannot disengage, because I'm going to be there. I'm going to be shouting from the rooftop. If we're going to have a professional development day, we'll invite every one of my employees. I'm going to be there. If I'm not emceeing it, I'm going to be running the gift booth or something. I'm going to be doing something so that I can be engaged. I think that is, and that's cheap. That's
it's free.
That's one of the things you do that won't cost you a dime, is being involved and being engaged, right?
Yeah. And
I'm not saying, like I said, just to reiterate, I'm not saying go be in the schools every day, go be in every classroom.
Not every day, but
Sally needs a break. Can you go down and cover? And no, let's don't do that. But being visible you have to be there. And visible means many different things. It means social media being visible. It means visible in the schools. It means visible at large events, etc. So,
yeah. And as an owner, you need to support your leaders. You can't just hire a new director, give them the manual, and then get the hell out of Dodge. That is not okay. So you got to stay connected, guys. And having those weekly leadership meetings, having a scorecard that your leaders report to every week, giving decision-making power, and getting everybody to help you with big decisions. Like, I'm not going to make the decision on my own. I'm going to ask my leadership team to help me with this decision. So they're going to buy into, because they're part of the decision-making process as a team. And that's great leadership. So I just had to say that, because I'm seeing it. People are confusing being a little bit disconnected from the business in a corporate office with just being completely gone. And I'm like, no, you still have to give some of your week to your schools.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and I could totally believe in asking for input to get buy-in.
Yeah. It's that's a magical strategy. That the queen of doing that is Miss Tamina Adams.
Absolutely.
She has done amazing things with just getting her leaders to be empowered to help her make decisions.
And shown up in the most fabulous shoes. Absolutely.
Let me tell you, I can't even wait to see her in 3 weeks to see what's her shoe game. I've got some too, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I bought my very first pair of Gucci's.
Oh.
So,
I bought a fake Gucci belt off the street when I was in Greece recently. We'll see how that looks.
I love it.
I wanted one, and they had one that was fake. I was like, oh, well, I'll try it. Maybe it won't fall apart on me. So, anyway.
Oh, Lord. Tell us a little bit about Key West. You had a great owners conference in Key West. I think was it in July? No, that's too hot. Was it May?
I don't remember when it was. It was a few months ago.
Anyway, a few months ago.
It was fun. I invited, I went through my Rolodex, and I invited the most motivated owners that I could think of. Key West, number one, has been my, where I go.
I love it. It's my favorite spot.
25 years. We've gone every year except for, the year we didn't go for during COVID. My Mecca, that's where I was thinking of. And I wanted to share that. And as far as we know, it was first ever child care conference in Key West. We had it at Margaritaville, and because this is how life does it. And so we were theming everything under Margaritaville, Jimmy Buffett. And then before we showed up, they changed the name of the venue from Margaritaville to the Opal. What the heck do you do with the
Opal? What the heck?
So anyway, so we just continued and just oblivious that they had changed the name of the venue, just stuck on with our theme. And it was 2 days, and we had a great time. Tamina came and showed out, and we just invited Andrea Majeski came and just gave a great talk, and we just had just the best time of sharing and interacting. And it's small and intimate, and I am going to do it again. Just because I think I've got a little niche there with the size and the smallness of it, and people really seem to really be able to let their hair down and really connect. So it was really cool.
There's going to be one in the spring of 2022, we hope.
Yes, absolutely. We have the dates. Let's see here if I've got my dates here. It is March 9th and 10th of 2022.
Awesome.
That was the original date, was supposed to be in March, but then due to COVID.
And then if people want to learn more about that, where do they go?
Email me, VernonDirectorsLeadership@gmail.com.
Okay.
VernonDirectorsLeadership@gmail.com.
Vernon Directors Leadership.
And remember, I don't have people. I'm not Chris Murray. So I don't have a slew of staff, on the bankroll.
It's just Vernon, people. So it's going to take him a while to get back to you. So
absolutely. Give me a minute.
You might want to set up a landing page for your event. I'll help you with that, Vernon.
Maybe so.
I know. Cool. Well, we talked about a lot today. We talked about staffing. We talked about advocacy. We talked about the Nest. We talked about Key West, and also leadership. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share?
I have some very interesting, some thought and some other staffing ideas. If you'll let me hang in there.
Yes, please. People would love that.
So, years ago when I wrote "Don't Go," research said over and over and over again, people didn't leave because of money. I don't know that the research would say that as much anymore. I think 2021, the data would come back a little bit different. So one of the first things I advise people to do is something I learned from you years ago, and that is develop an avatar. You say develop an avatar of the people enrolling the kids in your school, whatever. So you could target them. Well, the same thing in when hiring. Why are we trying to recruit people from that haven't been successful? Number one, look at your staff who has been successful. Has it been people that you hired that were well educated? Has it been people you've hired that came with tons of experience or no experience, or people with no education? I even went down to the point I had a couple of my schools were in rural North Carolina, and what I figured out that none of my employees lived around the program. They all lived in neighboring towns. And those neighboring towns were away from the larger town. So the people who lived around my school were driving 20 or 30 minutes to make $2 or $3 more an hour, right? So we had to target the people who were driving to us. And we figured out, these people back here are driving 20, 30 minutes to drive to us because they're making more money than they were where they live. So when you can figure that out, you can run the Facebook ads all you want to, but if you run them in the wrong zip codes, you're not going to get anywhere. So number one, figure out who is successful working at your school, where they live, what kind of education, what kind of experience they are. Then, gravitate and go after those people who are more likely to stay with you. The other thing is you've got to advertise in more places. People just want to slam an ad on Indeed and let it go.
Right. That's not enough.
Some of the big people on Indeed, you go there, you look at it, and I'm going,
it's so boring.
They all look alike. So spice it up a little bit. Look at TikTok. Some of the main employers in our country now are doing TikTok, Facebook, Indeed, LinkedIn, of course, So I believe run your ads. Let's target the employee for our ad. Instead of we want to focus on the position we have to fill. Let's target who we're looking to hire. So put the heading of your ad something like no experience, don't worry, we'll train you, right? And then talk about that a little bit in your ad. What about if a headline says need benefits? We got them. Right, because the person who needs benefits is going to stop and look at that ad, and we have to stop looking at it that we're running one ad to meet all of our needs, to meet all of our positions. We're not. That ad will target people who need benefits. That ad will target people. What if an ad said, "Did you dream of being a teacher? It's not too late." You target those kinds of people. What about if you're running free childcare? Need free childcare? We got you. There's all kinds of ways you look at that. Andrea Majeski and Carol, they do amazing things. They pay people's freaking college loans. What if you tag that in there? How many people, millennials, when you talk to the younger generations, how many of them will tell you that they are poor from paying their college loans? How many people would that target, or would that speak to?
Yes.
I also believe in going in other areas. When I start doing research in an area where we're considering moving, I go to the Indeed ads to see what kind of thing is running there. And I see ads in there for CNAs. I see ads in there for other industries. Go to other industries and run ads. Go to the restaurant area and say, tired of working nights and weekends? Come work with us. No nights, no weekends, paid holidays, no holidays, whatever, steal the good ads, copy them, change them up, copy links out of them. How about an ad, again, because we're targeting the people we're looking to hire. How about an ad with as few ads as possible, with as few words as possible? Because sometimes you get those and it's just, it's just like the beginning of a book or something. So just write an ad as few as possible. So, the other thing I would say is we must raise the floor. we know that increased minimum wage is coming. And some of you guys, your minimum wage, increased minimum wage is already there. That's great. Those of you who are not there, pretend that it's there. Get your leadership around the table and say, look, guys, this is what we're going to do. We need better staffing. We want to recruit better people. We need to raise the floor. To do that, now you got to fill your dang center up. To do that, we've got to go up on tuition, right? Because you have to go up on tuition. Take that little policy out of your parent policy right now that says we have annual increases. Take the word annual out. Go up multiple times a year if your market will sustain it. Raise the floor, start paying people more. If your minimum wage in your area right now is $8 an hour, then your minimum wage needs to be $9, right? And and keep right on increasing. And then you can advertise that kind of thing, that we're here to look after your people. Hire on bonuses. A lot of employees, the ones who've been there with us the whole time, they get a little ticked off when you're at offering large hire on bonuses for new people. They're like, I've been here the whole time. What are you doing for me? And you do that old trickaroo that we used to do when you were doing enrollment. You offer them money, you offer them recruitment, bring someone to me, we'll match it. We will match the exact same thing. Other retention ideas is, I used to love to offer $1 an hour. You get an extra $1 an hour if you work all your scheduled hours, right? Just, $1 an hour, but you've got to work your scheduled hours. If you miss it by 5 minutes or 15 minutes, or you call in, you're back to your normal pay. My friend Thad, he likes to take it and one up me, of course. So what he does is he increases if you work this pay period and you work all your scheduled hours, your pay increases 50 cents. The next pay period, if you work all those hours, you go up another 50 cents. He'll allow you to go up to $3 more than your base pay. If you sustain that for 3 months, that becomes your permanent pay. You get permanent $3. Now, anytime you miss it, what happens? It goes right back to and you're going to start it over again. So it actually is good. All right. So this is also a little fly in the ointment here too. So when it comes to recruitment, it comes to retention, it comes to hiring, we have to look at the stress of our directors. I think that's a real indicator also of turnover, because we have 29 schools, and I will tell you, I see some of the data, and I will tell you that we can pinpoint that there's a little more turnover at this one than there is at that one. There's a little more at this one, right? So looking at that and be obvious that, your directors are not super people. They need time off, just like the owner. Then maybe you need to give your director a week at the Ritz or somewhere. Take care of your directors. They're taking care of your business. Take care of them. Make them take time off. Don't ask them to take time off. Don't go, do you need time off? You were crying in the bathroom. Well, if she's crying in the bathroom, I'd say she probably needs some time off, right? Yeah. So taking care of that. All right. Another part of a little retention thing that I love is increasing your leadership team. The more people you have in leadership, and people are going to say, I can't afford to do that. They can stay in the classroom and still, have a leadership role. You can have like a grade chair, preschool leader, someone who's in charge of the school age program, mentors, trainers. And can we talk about training? We have to do training. Training does not stop when they're hired. It just begins when they're hired. Well, no, it starts before they're hired, but anyway, and then it keeps right on going. Continue to train. But the more people you have in leadership, give them a little bit more an hour. You'd be surprised what someone would do for a quarter, 50 cents an hour. Give them a little bit more an hour, and literally include them in your leadership team of that school. Allow them to get together on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis. When you have more people in leadership, you have more buy-in, you have more stable faces in your program. Those people are much less likely to leave you than other people. And when you are recruiting people, you can say, this is the support system we have for you, these leaders that we
yes.
have. Right?
Love that.
Focus on your part-time people. When I was the Michelle Smith, and I had an owner, I was an owner director, I can tell you someone would come in and apply and they would say, I want to work from 8 to 2. I want to drop my kid off and I want to pick my kid up at school. And I would say, get out. I don't have time for that. Right. It's a different world.
It's all part-time right now.
Different world.
Yeah.
Embrace those part-timers. Fill in those part-timers. I'm telling you right now, the world that we live in, if I can get somebody 8 to 2 that's going to be good with those kids, you better hire them, grab them, hold those ankles, and fill in around them. So your part-time people, what benefits can you qualify them for? Can we go ahead and start them already earning paid time off, right? You can give them that. Why can't you give a part-time vacation? Absolutely, give a part-timer vacation and holiday pay. Pay them for the hours they typically work. If they work 4 hours or 6 hours and you're closed today, give them the 4 or 6 hours for the day. You know, you can have the policy, work the day before, work the day after, whatever. What I used to do with my part-timers, my fill-ins, my floaters, my subs, is once they hit a year, we would run a ProCare report. We would average how many hours did they average in any given week during the year, and that's how much vacation they would get. They would get. And let me tell you, those people were honored. They were thrilled to have that vacation time because they're not expecting that, you know, because they're part-time. They're not expecting that. But what kind of benefits can you qualify them for? You know, if they work a certain number of hours, you can give them dental, vision, life insurance, short-term disabilities. So that's just something to think about. When you get people ingrained like that and they start getting some kind of what they see as real life benefits, they're much more likely to stay. So ramp up your pay. If you can give them some free or reduced childcare, I don't know where we're going to keep these people. It might be that we go back especially with your lead over the years, we all went to that place where we were giving childcare away initially, right? And because of your leadership and stuff, we all said, you know, we're more valuable than that. We need to charge, we need to give them, you know, what? So people started getting discounts and things like that. Maybe the time has turned that we need to go back now to recruit and to retain good quality staff. Maybe we do need to go back to giving some free childcare.
Yes.
So that's my long and quick, dirty list of some of the ideas I have for doing some recruiting and retention and hiring. And remember that we are finding that you have to have 12, you have to be actively working 12 candidates to get one good hire. So if you need 2 people in your childcare program today and you're interacting with 3 people, you will never, ever get ahead of the curve. So literally, if you need 2 people, you need to be working
24 people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to get those good people, because we also know that, and you have to budget you have to overhire. You have to. Yes. It's just that's where you have to overhire, because if you keep hiring what you need, you'll never get caught up.
You're never going to get caught up.
Everyone is in that scenario where they hire 4 because they need 4, and the day everybody get 4 start, they get 2 notices, right? You know, and it's just vicious.
And then you bang your head against the wall.
Absolutely, and say curse words and all kinds of things, and drink more than you should, and you know.
Well, wow. Yeah. There's a shot out of a cannon with all of that. My goodness.
Well, that's how I roll. You know, that's how I roll.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. Those are all great success strategies and tips for hiring and leadership. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much. Yeah. You had mentioned to me that you wanted to share a book. Is there something that you're reading that you like?
Yeah. This is, and I finished it a little while ago, but it was so good. It's better than what I'm currently reading. So anyway, it's called Alive at Work.
Oh, nice.
Alive at Work. And it talks about the seeking system. And this especially is the seeking system. Have you heard of that before?
No.
It's the season. It's what we have that's internal with us, that where we want to use our imagination. We want to use to find stuff, to develop stuff, to make stuff, right? And unfortunately, a little bit in the early childhood world, due to licensing and other things, we've kind of snuffed out some of that. It's kind of almost a plug and play. It's kind of like, well, if we recorded that, we could just put a monitor in front of the room, and the teacher and the monitor could teach, right? You know, so we need to keep that in mind as we're trying to improve our quality by giving them more and more information. We also need to make sure we always leave plenty of room for them to use their seeking system and develop and find things and use their imagination, because it really is, the book is really good, and it explains it much better than I'm doing, but it actually talks about how we're pushing people to go completely against what their internal person or their internal self is telling them to do. And
I mean, we got to give outlets for our teachers to create and make cool stuff.
Because great teachers are many times an artist.
Yeah.
Now, you know, you can get me on my soapbox again about, you know, do we want a highly educated teacher, or do we want a highly experienced teacher, or do we whatever? And I will tell you that, you know, I'd rather have a highly motivated teacher who wants to be there than an educated teacher, just because in my experience, I'm not reading any research projects. Number one, there's no one out there researching this, but from my experience, I did not find that the higher the education, the better the quality care.
Mm-hmm.
There was not a correlation in my world.
Yeah, one of the most dynamic, energetic, and just you could feel the palpable energy in the school was my friend Marnie Forestieri's school in Orlando. And she's actually hosting an innovation summit at the end of October that I'm going to speak at. But she hired millennials on purpose because they were purpose-driven individuals that had energy, they had creation, they had vibrancy, they were excited. It was all young people. Her teachers were pretty much all between the ages of 21 and 30. And she had a couple more seasoned teachers, but they were all creators. They were makers. They were driven by wanting to make stuff and do stuff with kids that was creative. And so
she has realized what we all have to realize, and that is we can dig our heels in the sand and say, I'm going to hire teachers that will do this, 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 and this. And what we realize, there's not enough of those teachers out there. So we have to adapt.
Yeah.
We have to embrace, and we have to deliver things differently, right? Just like the little kids that we care for every day. We have to communicate with our team differently. Some of them want an email, some of them want a text, some of them want you to tell them, some of them want you a little paper memo, right? Deliver it in many different ways, because being able to communicate with those people and build relationship with those people is vital. Because like I said, you can't just put your heels in the sand and say, well, I'm only hiring these kind of people. Because if you are, you're going to be that director, you're going to be that owner with schools at 40-50%, because that's all you can staff for.
Yes.
Adapt and move, adapt and change is the name of the game.
I love it. And business is cyclical, and what's going to happen 5 years from now, and we have to keep this in mind, because in 2012, we were dealing with post-recession enrollment. We could find as many staff as we wanted, but our enrollment was down because there was so many schools that we were starting to steal parents and children from each other. And so we were like learning how to market and how to stand apart in our programs. And now we're in this staffing piece, and now we're going to come out of that. And we're going to go back to when schools start opening up around the country again, because we're going to come back.
Right.
Then we're going to be back to, there's not enough families and children to go around. So we have to also keep our enrollment hat on and not forget that even though right now we have so many kids, we can hang them from the ceiling, but that's not always going to be the case, That's an important thing to remember too.
That's why you have to be in organizations in the academy. Gotta stay on top of it.
And go to Key West.
Ever changing. Be there, be prepared.
And when you're ready to sell, learn about thenestschools.com.
Call me.
Call me.
Happy to talk to you.
Well, Vernon, we were supposed to only talk for a half hour today. We went over our time.
We didn't do that.
Right. We didn't do that. Oopsie. Vernon Mason, always a pleasure. Third time is a charm. We'll definitely have you back in the future too. I can't wait to see you in just a few weeks in person and give you a big old hug.
Absolutely.
At the Child Care Success Summit.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for being a supporter of mine. I'm a supporter of yours, and thanks for being a friend. I enjoy our interactions and communications, and thanks for what you do for our community. It's vital.
You're welcome. It's a labor of love. And whenever you help other people get what they want, you can have anything you want in this life. And so that's what I believe. And that's what I live. So it's been it's been a decade of fun to do this work.
And a wee bit of work.
A little bit of work. A wee bit. But yeah, thank you, Vernon Mason. You can reach Vernon at vernondirectorsleadership@gmail.com and thenestSchool.com and
Vernon at the Nest School. Yep, absolutely.
Vernon at thenestSchool.com. And thank you so much for being here today, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.